In a recent interview on the Paul Finebaum show, Dan Lanning was asked if he ever considered taking the Alabama position, and his response was it was never part of his thought process, which might sound absurd at first considering Alabama is the most successful program of the past 50 years. Alabama is the biggest brand in college football, and they're arguably the largest brand across all of college athletics. But the more you think about it, the less crazier it is. And that's because the landscape of college football has officially changed. You can go back to as short of a year ago, and coaches were willing and wanting to jump to the next big thing. You look at Brian Kelly, he built a huge legacy at Notre Dame, making the playoffs with them. But then he said, you know what? LSU's in a better conference. I can get better recruits. I'm going to LSU. You look at Lincoln Riley. He built a dominant force at Oklahoma, making 2 playoffs, having 2 Heismans at Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. And as soon as Southern Cal's job opening became available, he jumped ship to go to USC in an instant. Better resources, West Coast, better recruits. But that's all changed. The landscape of football has all changed. There's 12 teams making the playoffs, soon to be 16. Recruits are more willing to go to just about any program rather than the Big 5 programs. And because of that, coaches like Dan Lanning are realizing I can win where I'm at. I'm staying. Dan Lanning turning down the biggest job in all of college football to stay at Oregon is the perfect example of how the landscape has changed. Because when you look at Oregon, their past 3 coaches all left for bigger and better things. Chip Kelly left to go to the Eagles. Willie Taggart left to go to Florida State. Mario Cristobal left to go to Miami. But Dan Lanning turned down the best position amongst all 4 of those had and stayed at Oregon, showing that the landscape has officially changed. And not only did he show it by declining the offer, but then he went on and brought in 2 primetime transfer portal players in Dante Moore and Evan Stewart. And then you look at Alabama and you say, well, sure, they missed out on their top choice in Dan Lanning. But how does that show that the landscape has officially changed? Well, then you go further down the list of the candidates Alabama was considering. Their top choice, Lanning, said no. Then they reached out to Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, a solid program, yes, but nothing crazy, and he said no thank you. Mike Norvell at FSU denied the option as well, ultimately causing Bama to choose their 4th choice in Kalen DeBoer. A team that has dominated football for the past 50 years, how to get their 4th choice? Well, that's a bit peculiar, and it's showing how the landscape has changed. Then you look at their friend in the SEC, Texas A&M, have all the money in the world, let go of Jimbo Fisher and said, yes, we want to be conservative with paying our money. Wink, wink. They were really looking to get a big fish. They pursued Dabo Swinney and Mike Novell, and neither one of them budged. They said, we want to stay at where we're at. We're not going to A&M. And they landed on their 3rd choice in Mike Elko, a great coach, again, from Duke, but he's no Dabo and Mike Novell. And it's showing that these coaches want to stay where they're at because they know they can compete with the expanded playoffs. They know they can recruit anybody now because players are more open-minded to going to just about any program. And through that, coaches saying, I can build a legacy at the university I'm at. I can compete where I'm at. It's better for myself, and it's better for my family, and it's better for the players because they know I'll be here for the long run. And through that, I think it's a prime example of how college football, its landscape has officially changed and opened up windows where not just the top 3 programs will dominate year in and year out, but the gap between the top 3, the top 6, the top 10, top 12 is going to shrink instrumentally, and you're going to have a lot of competitive games, and you can see a new champion every single year. Now, when it comes to how our college football programs going to hire their next head coach, if they do part ways with their current one, I think they're going to transition to a model of the college basketball realm, which is having an heir apparent on the coaching staff already. Look at how Duke, Kentucky, and UNC all selected their next head coaches. Kentucky wasn't prepared for Calipari to leave, and when he left, they were left stumbling. They pursued Scott Drew, Billy Donovan, these top coaches, but neither one of them wanted any part with Kentucky, arguably the biggest brand in college basketball. Instead, they landed on their 4th option and brought in Mark Pope, who, again, I think is an awesome hire for them, but was their 4th option. Then you look at how the other 2 programs did it in Duke and UNC. Hubert Davis and John Shire were the heir apparents. They were on the coaching staff of Coach K and Roy Williams for many, many years. And so Duke and UNC knew that when Roy Williams and when Coach K eventually leave, whether that's to retire, to go to another program, or go to the NBA, they had the next man up. So I think we're going to see a lot of these top programs have a coordinator waiting in the wind to get hired to be the next guy up. All in all, though, college football has officially changed its landscape. Coaches are going to be staying put. Teams are going to be built, and the gap of talent is going to shrink smaller and smaller year in and year out, allowing just about any team to finally compete in the landscape of college football. You guys let me know your thoughts. As always, thank you for watching, and please subscribe.